What's up, guys? It's Wednesday. It's SJU. Joe, Dan, Spencer, Ed. Good morning, gentlemen.
Nope.
We're talking Netflix and their continuing quest to win Oscars, and the Oscars' continuing quest to decide whether or not they want Netflix to be able to win Oscars. We got some updates there. We're probably talking Avengers and somehow. Oh yeah, we got a junket. There's no spoilers. Don't worry. You can stay here. You're safe. Watching SJU. We're talking the J.R.R. Tolkien family has disavowed the biopic that's been made about J.R.R. or as I call him, Jur. That's what his friends called him.
Yep.
Big Jur. And yeah.
George R. Martin.
Gur and Jur.
It's a secret to being a big fantasy author.
Yep.
R.
C.S. Lewis is like, sis, guys? And everyone's like, get out of here, C.S.
Get back in your wardrobe.
Get back in. No one wants to talk to you, Lewis. All right. Story number one. Let's talk Oscars. They have voted
never too early to talk Oscars.
It's never too early to talk about the Oscars. It's a lot like Star Wars that way. The Oscars have voted to keep Netflix movies eligible. This is via/film. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced a decision not to move forward with a rule change that would make Netflix movies' Oscar eligibility harder to attain. The rule will continue to allow any film to be considered for an Oscar as long as it plays in theaters for a 7-day theatrical run in a Los Angeles movie theater. Here's a quote from Academy President and on his trailer's voice, John Bailey.
Wow. How's he have time?
I don't know. He's just
crazy.
Guy works, man. The guy just works.
Why don't we exploit that connection more?
We should.
We should have something to do with the Oscars. Oh,
And
well.
furthermore, if he's the president of the Academy, why isn't the voice of Optimus Prime doing all the narration? This is Joaquin. Yeah, this is Joaquin's first nomination.
Oscars, roll out.
So this is what Academy Epic Voice, not our Epic Voice, had to say. We support the theatrical experience as integral to the art of motion pictures, and this weighed heavily in our discussions. Our rules currently require theatrical exhibition and also allow for a broad selection of films to be submitted for Oscar consideration. We plan to further study the profound changes occurring in our industry and continue discussions with our members about these issues. Great. That was kind of a good Feige
That was
response
a very
from-
Feige-esque response, but a little more committal for now.
Yeah. Sounds nice. Along with buying the Egyptian theater, these updates show that Netflix will continue to be a contender for award seasons to come. What do you guys think about the Academy sort of playing ball with streaming, kind of stepping back from these weird Steven Spielberg charges they were trying to make?
I mean, they didn't so much buy the Egyptian theaters, partner with them, but it does. I mean, so it has to have a run in a Los Angeles theater for 7 days. Well, guess what? Netflix just teamed up with a Los Angeles theater. So
Nailed it.
It's.
Do you think that rule is why a lot of people don't watch the Oscars anymore? Every year you hear the complaint of like, I've never even heard of any of the films nominated. Do you think the 7-day theatrical LA movie theater run has something to do with that, or should they just say, you know what, it can be on streaming, or it has to run in the heartland
They were saying
for
that
2
with
weeks?
Fargo and Secrets and Lies, and 20 years ago when the indie movement kind of.
Yeah, distribution there wasn't a digital distribution platform. You couldn't get something on VOD or see it in a theater like you kind of can now with certain motion pictures. You had to be in New York or LA, and it made it even more coastal elite.
Mm-hmm. I would love if independent features got a better release strategy in the middle of the country, and they weren't just relegated to the coasts for some or most or all of their run. But that also has to do with theaters in the middle of the country booking those movies.
No, true. Des Moines deserves some cool movies.
I saw a sign. It was from from some state besides New York or LA, and it said a heck boy.
Are there some?
It said heck boy.
Yeah,
on the marquee because they didn't want to put hell. And it's like,
double hockey sticks, boy.
Yeah, you want those guys to show Roma? Good luck. Good luck, buddy.
I'd like a ticket for you press 1134 on the calculator and then turn it upside down. Boy, please. Yeah, this is a total fig leaf for Netflix because everyone sees their movies streaming, and I don't think it's a big deal because the people who vote in the Academy just watch screeners anyways before they make their decision. They're not going to the theaters to see these things. They're working on their own movies.
They're doing old-timey streaming.
They're doing old-timey streaming on VHS.
Yep.
So I find it hard to really care about any of this. Joe, what do you think?
Well, here's what I want to know from the table. What terrible Netflix movies most now deserve nominations? Now that their path is a little clearer, because there's the Mute one.
Yeah,
that
Mute
I know you
definitely
love
for best adapted screenplay from like a fever dream that I once had.
Solid.
Like, why are there Amish in space? And then I don't know. There's I think Buster Scruggs, didn't it get nominated?
It got a few.
It deserved to get nominated.
I don't want to live here anymore. It was pretty good. I don't know about Oscar worthy or anything, but it was like an actually good movie that
Yeah.
that
The
one with
came
Elijah
out of-
Wood?
Yeah,
That
where
was
he's like
super
throwing
fun.
ninja stars and stuff.
Yes.
That I really liked that movie.
Yeah.
It had a lot of personality that I think. It wasn't a bunch of like checklist. The movie was not made with that in mind.
Well, I wonder if this is going to lead to some sort of jockeying when directors and producers are signing with Netflix to be, because not every Netflix movie is released theatrically. There's some like the one you were talking about and Mute, and I don't think to all the boys I loved before was released theatrically either. I wonder if this is going to lead to, now that it's sort of codified and official, that like if you run in a theater for 7 days and you're from Netflix, you're eligible. If people are going to be like,
It's going to be part of the bargaining.
Why are you putting The Irishman in theaters and not my movie?
Yeah.
Maybe you sign a contractual agreement.
Right.
Maybe that's why they went to the Egyptians. Like, we know now that a lot of our directors are now going to be saying, I want that 7-day run. I want to be eligible. So.
Right. Well, I think it'll also be, though, much like the comedians thing, right? Like, there's comedians on Netflix that have specials and stuff. And then there's Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock and Amy Schumer. And those deals are way different than the other comedians' deals because of all these factors. So I think they'll be able to reasonably explain why, such and such doesn't get it, but, something by Corone does.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting to watch too, because I think you could make a case for a lot of Netflix content, that deserves this sort of 7-day theatrical run to sort of set them up for the Oscar nom. I think Homecoming could be not Spider-Man. Beyonce's Homecoming, not Spider-Man's. Is an easy contender for documentary at the Academy Awards. It's a really cool piece.
But the problem is, I don't know if has it been released theatrically anywhere.
That's what I'm wondering.
I think there's a rule that you can't put it out first.
Elsewhere,
and then pop it into theaters.
Got it.
I think, or at least that was the case. Like way back when Tombstone came out, which is one of my favorite movies. Val Kilmer, largely, they said that they botched his campaign because there was a weird thing where Tombstone was first put out on some premium TV thing as a special preview before it came out in theaters, and so the Academy ruled that Val Kilmer was ineligible to be considered because it had not premiered in theaters first, and so I wonder if that rule still stands, because that could be a thing with Beyonce is, if it was released VOD first, then that may then make it ineligible for release because it didn't debut in theaters.
Well,
that's the weird technicality.
That's the Academy's loss, losing that Bayhive energy next year.
You don't want the. I mean, you thought Oscar So White was bad.
Oscar's not Bay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a nightmare.
Oscars hate Bay.
Should be
Hashtag.
eligible for The Lion King.
Yeah.
There we go.
To make up.
There we go. That'll be her Return of the King Oscar. So here's some non-Netflix Oscars updates. Again, this is sort of based on all the Academy ruling that they've just done and updated. The theatrical release of 8 eligible animated features in the calendar year is no longer required for the awards category to be activated. The foreign language film category has been officially renamed to International Feature Film. The International Feature Film category will take a cue from the Best Picture category by expanding to 10 nominees.
I like that.
Okay.
That's cool. Okay. Makeup and hairstyling is also getting an upgrade, with the Academy allowing 5 total nominees instead of the traditional 3. I can't wait for all 5 of those nominees to be shunted to the commercial break at this year's awards. It's what they'll do. If you're trying to get an Oscar nomination in either the animated or live action short film categories, you now have the option of qualifying by screening your film in the city of New York as well as Los Angeles County. See, they are giving it to the people, New York or LA.
Up to a whole new group of elites.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But LA County is interesting because there's Los Angeles, then there's LA counties. You can go out to Bakersfield, and
This is true.
screen it on the side of a 99-cent store.
I only watch my art house stuff with the people of Bakersfield, like a real movie fan.
Sitting on a bale of hay. Yeah.
That's definitely, yeah. That's not quite Bakersfield.
Not quite big. Well,
No, since we're being reductive, I'm going to full Monty. Let's do it.
Totally fair. Just strip malls and hay bales.
Yeah, let's make them Hills Have Eyes monsters. Let's do it. Let's get nuts.
So, guys, as we've been telling you, we've rebranded Screen Junkies News to Fandom Entertainment. Same shows, different colors, same set for now. We'll move somewhere soon later. If you got lots of questions, we answered, I think, most of them last week. So check the comments. We were in the comments and all our stuff last week, sort of answering your questions. We did some pretty solid Q&A stuff last week. So if you got any questions, they're probably there. If you're still really stressed out and sort of worried about it, hit me on Twitter. Take a walk. You walk while
get outside. It's nice.
Nice walk day. While you're on Twitter and chat with us. Same stuff. We're still driving the weird car, and like, subscribe, stick with us. Thank you for caring about the dumb stuff that we make. Let's talk about J.R. Tolkien and his family. So they've disavowed this Fox biopic that was made about the author. This is via IndieWire. The Tolkien family and estate have come forward to disavow the upcoming Fox Searchlight biopic starring Nicholas Hoult as the author. Tolkien's family and the Tolkien estate have not seen the movie but have long turned down agreeing to any official biopics. In a joint statement, both parties have said they want to make clear they did not approve of, authorize, or participate in the making of the film, and they do not endorse it or its content in any way. Searchlight's response, well, we are so I'm just going to give it a little bit of sass.
Well, haughty tone.
Sassy Searchlight.
We are so proud of Tom Kurowski's film Tolkien, which focuses on the early years of J.R. Tolkien's extraordinary life and does not depict subject matter from his novels. While we did not work with the Tolkien estate on this project, the filmmaking team has the utmost respect and admiration for Mr. Tolkien and his phenomenal contribution to literature. Take that, estate. So many snaps, just like a shire's worth of snaps back from Searchlight. Here's the official synopsis for the movie. Tolkien explores the formative years of the orphaned author as he finds friendship, love, and artistic inspiration among a group of fellow outcasts at schools. This takes him into the outbreak of World War I, which threatens to tear the Fellowship apart. All of these experiences would inspire Tolkien to write his famous Middle-earth novels. Here's the challenging thing about an unauthorized biopic. This sort of feels like, what was it, Jumpy Jump Jump from 30 Rock when they wanted to make a Janis Joplin biopic.
And they couldn't use it as the music either. Like, take another piece of my liver, baby.
They can kind of just do whatever they want here. I don't know.
I was on board.
Saw an alien.
I was on board until the synopsis literally put like he's got a fellowship in there, because if they turn his life into Lord of the Rings instead of like an inspiration for Lord of the Rings, because obviously World War I affected him in the horrors of war. You know, it's not too much of a stretch to be like Mordor is like a shell-shocked, horrific battlefield that you would see in World War I. But if they're doing like his buddy, like his blonde friend, like fades into an elf and fades out.
I mean, I haven't seen that exact. The trailer makes it look like it's like this is his life and how it might have inspired, but they do sort of kind of do that in the trailer a little bit. Not elf friends, but this thing of like,
hi, I'm Sam. Would you like some potatoes and rabbit?
Not quite like that, but more thematically. So it's like it doesn't feature Lord of the Rings stuff, but like it heavily relies on symbols and imagery from Lord of the Rings.
You know what?
Interesting.
I guess I have to see the trailer, and I would have to see the movie to make an actual opinion. But this sounds super terrible. It sounds like, you do a Mr. T biopic, and he's in the mirror after his parents died. He's like, my father pitied fools, and he's carving his first mohawk. And he finds a gold chain in an alley, and he just amasses a collection of them. Stop it. And some people's lives...
Let the dead rest.
Some people's lives can't be explained that way. You're going to do a Wesley Snipes movie, it's like, my dad never paid taxes. Like, what are we doing?
Well, I don't know. There's a...
I'd watch that movie. Let's slow down.
I think there's
Justice Smith is young Wesley
My
Snipes.
martial arts dad never paid taxes, and he hated vampires.
He's a special case because the dead have limited rights, or historical figures have limited rights because like they belong to all of us. Like we all know Abraham Lincoln and can make movies about him without his descendants' permission or what have you. But J.R. Tolkien was so anti film, even for Lord of the Rings. Like, he did not want those to be made into movies.
Yeah.
It's just like, have a little bit of respect for what he clearly wanted, which was not to be anything other than like living on through the written word.
Yeah. Honestly, the only biopic I'd want to see about Tolkien is the story of him hating the Beatles.
Okay.
They had a rival because the Beatles wanted to make a Lord of the Rings movie.
Well, they made that weird Hobbit thing.
Yeah, well, they lived like, I think the story is like they lived on the same street as him for a while, or were rehearsing, and he hated them because of all the noise. And so then when he found out that was the band that won, and he was like, nope, absolutely not.
Wow.
I would watch. That's a A24 prestige movie about correspondence going back and forth.
Tolkien
Cease and
versus the
desist. Yeah. So J.R. Tolkien dipping his wick and writing long hand letters to the freaking Beatles. Sign me up for that one.
I'd watch that one. Biopics always make me nervous in general. They're either great or they're just sort of on the nose, and like, at what point is like Mike Myers going to look directly into the camera in this movie and be like, no one's going to celebrate a book about tiny people from a green utopia, and they certainly wouldn't film it in New Zealand. Like, I don't know.
He didn't look into the camera.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did when he said,
"Oh, he did."
Teenagers aren't going to be headbanging to this.
He looked right into the camera.
World?
The only thing they were missing was like an Evil Dead Sam Raimi just like hardcore zoom into his face. He looked right in the camera, Murrell.
Wow. I liked it, so.
Yeah, and I just definitely hope it's not too heavy-handed with it. It might be artful with this fellowship thing. It's a lot of things sound stupid in synopsis. That's why I would never work. I won't say never, but I couldn't imagine working at a studio and hearing pitches, like hearing log lines all day. Every log line sounds stupid. Mm-hmm. But you know what I'm saying? Or inordinately interesting to where you can never do a movie as good as this log line. They're either or.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I it's hard from just this little information, but if it seems like it's not what he wanted, but obviously, that Green Book had a similar situation, with the author. They were trying to say that, like, he never ate fried chicken, he didn't know the black experience, he never knew his family, he needed this white brother, and in reality, he had, like, 5 brothers that he corresponded with constantly because he was in the South in danger all the damn time, so he kept up with them, so they knew where he was at, and it just, you know what I mean? A lot of times biopics take liberties, is what I'm saying, with the actual character of the person, not just events to truncate. You know what I mean? I dig that. That's fine. Slightly fictionalizing thing. Everybody digs that. But to change the basis of the character, you know what I mean? To make a Captain America a 3-card Monty cheat, or Martin Luther King something that he wasn't. You know what I mean? I just think that is weird.
Well, Selma was an interesting one because that was another one where they could not get the rights to his actual words, and so it was largely written from original. They didn't give the famous speeches because those are not theirs.
Dude, imagine sitting down. You're a screenwriter, and your assignment is to do a cover of Martin Luther King speech. You're just like, all right, friends and gentlemen. Nah, that sounds too English.
I have a thought.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know. I'm curious to see Tolkien. I had a chance to see it, and I had to bow out, and I haven't had a chance to see it again. But it looks like it's. I think where they could run into some issues is it looks like it might market a little bit into speculation.
Right.
And I think that's sort of where it can get a little weird as far as if you're a family member, because presenting events, a certain thing, it's even taking dramatic and creative license is one thing, but the weird part would be if they are speculating into things that then are not rooted in reality. That's where I think it gets a little weird.
Well, it seems like from the synopsis, at least, like what they're interested in is how World War I relates to Lord of the Rings, and not the other way around.
It's certainly being marketed that way. The marketing is very heavy on this is an origin story for Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Yeah.
This is how J.R. Tolkien's young life inspired Lord of the Rings.
And I get the marketing.
And the Tolkien is a ring in the trailer. That's not necessarily indicative of the movie, but that is it is definitely being marketed as this is a prequel.
And I get
that.
that. Like, what's the sexier sell? Like, would you like to watch this movie about like a stuffy British writer that was obsessed with languages, or are you gonna come at it and be like, you like orcs, right?
They like the Germans.
You like the guy that wrote about the orcs?
Yeah.
Tolkien.
Gotta sell it.
Yeah, gotta sell the thing. What biopics have done it right? Like we've sort of, we talked about like Green Book. Like, what biopics have hit like a good mix of like, maybe some of this is like, embellished, but
like straight up, the autobiography of Malcolm X, the Malcolm X motion picture.
Yeah,
it's 3 hours long, and it's a tour de force of Denzel Washington acting, and they do touch on they don't try to sanitize Malcolm X's early life. They really show that he might have gone a whole different way and been a horrible person, really.
Yeah.
And that his relationship with that religion at that time and how it was perceived by black people at the time, blah, 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 made him into this like icon. And the story of how somebody goes from like, somebody who could have died in an alley to an icon that everybody, respects on some level. That I really like that biopic, and I think it was shafted in the you son of a woman, you son of a bitch.
I think there's one that's in both camps, which is that Amadeus is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
An amazing biopic that is almost completely divorced from all reality.
Yeah.
It is fabricated almost entirely. But it's really
it's
good.
great.
It's
Yeah.
really good.
Milos Forman at the top of his game, which is a high top.
Yeah.
That's an Everest of a top.
I'd say the same thing about like The Social Network, which factually fudges, if not invents a lot of things, but it gets at like a deeper truth. When in time has played out in the sense that like this guy really is an asshole, even if it didn't go down the way.
He's not Spencer. He wants so hard for people to think that he is.
Yeah,
he's trying so hard to be. That's what the opening scene told me.
Right, sweet boy.
Yeah, well, and also in that movie, you're right. It touches on the fact that it isn't that they could have foreseen all these events and Russia hacking and all this jazz, but you can see that this person invented in the same way that like Dr. Frankenstein invented. You know what I mean? Like, let me see if I can do it. Oh, damn, it's roaming the countryside throwing chicks into the lake. Oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
But
I knew I should have stopped sewing those arms on.
You know what I mean? I should have stopped with one arm. It's like then they need to go to Dr. Kimball's house. Anyway, the point is, I think it is interesting that's how they took it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be more of a relic because it was made in a time when the only person that Facebook turned out poorly for was Mark Zuckerberg.
The Winklevoss twins?
No, like at the end of the movie, it's like everybody's rich, everybody's happy except for Mark Zuckerberg, and now here we are, like 10 years later. It's like,
Well, it's like the treasure of Sierra Madre. Like if Frank Dobbs ends up with the gold and has to schlep it through a billion miles of desert and dies, you know what I mean? It's like you got the gold, and now you gotta have the gold. While we have some of the gold, and we're super happy over here, but you got all the gold. Good job, Smaug.
Yeah.
Good job.
I want The Social Network 2 to be about the online print journalist who has been working for 20 years, and then Mark Zuckerberg walks in the room in one scene and talks about the pivot to video, and then it just follows the journalist losing their job because of it, and then like 2 years later, Mark Zuckerberg walks back in the room and goes like, "Oh, never mind. We made those numbers up, and we kind of knew about it, but we didn't tell anyone. But we didn't do anything wrong. Anyway, bye." And then it's just also
I'm so very sad. Feel bad for me.
Scores of print journalists and online writers lost their job based on fake Facebook numbers.
Well,
that's The Social Network 2 I want to see.
Well, as Pat Oswalt famously said, a lot of times science is all about coulda, not shoulda.
Yeah.
And when they invented Facebook, they could never have foreseen. But come on, man, there's a lot of negligence in throwing that platform.
To be fair, he did crib that from Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
100%.
Come on, Patton. Well, I like the further back you go with biopics, because you mentioned Lincoln, I think, where it's like the sort of further back with historical figures you go, like you've got probably more room to just play and be ridiculous because they sort of take on these almost like epic mythical pieces, like the Ip Man movies with Donnie Yen, like very real dude. I have no idea if he actually fought like 8 Japanese soldiers over because they beat up his buddy, but sort of being able to sort of play a little bit and be like, okay, we know like X, Y, and Z, so let's add A, B, C, D, E, F, and G to that and just make like a crazy movie.
I mean, as far as biopics, Pandora's box has been open for about the entirety of cinema. So since the beginning of cinema, we have recreated incidents that happened in history and slightly altered them for camera position and put beautiful people in the places where the ugly historical figures were.
Absolutely.
Have you seen what P.T. Barnum looked like?
We should have been in the circus.
Wow.
Okay, no.
Put the top back up. Put the top hat back on, and lower and lower and lower and lower. Ooh. Hey, what's your favorite biopic? Let us know in the comments and talk about it and be nice to each other. For our third story, we've got an Avengers Endgame junket.
Oh, right before we get to that.
Oh, shoot. We
Yeah,
gotta.
right
Yeah,
before we get
sorry.
to that.
Let's. You got some cool stuff.
No, we were talking about biopics, and in the story of my life, this is a great week. Got to come on with you guys. Super great. Got to get my parking
peaked.
validated.
Yep.
A little bit higher than
better.
that.
And it's right here, actually. We forgot to take the parking
this is
validation off the
This
table.
is Ryan's clipboard. He left it on the
Yeah,
table. He said
behind
you're
the
gonna-
scenes,
you're gonna
guys.
live with that mistake.
Forever. No toys on the table, but we do have parking validation.
More boring by the day.
And you do have some cool news.
I'm gonna go see Avengers Endgame tomorrow. So no spoilers, guys. Please don't tweet me any spoilers. All that jazz. I'm not gonna watch a review until later. But anyway, so I'm going to see Avengers Endgame on Thursday, and on Friday I will be on Comedy Central doing stand-up comedy at 11 Pacific Standard Time.
Wow.
I'm on a show called The New Negroes. Don't be scared of the title. It's about Langston Hughes and all those guys. You know what I mean? Like the Harlem Renaissance and stuff like that. We're trying to borrow that aesthetic for people telling their own stories. That sort of jazz. And I wouldn't call it alt, but it's not what you've seen before.
Yeah.
And I'm on
Baron Vaughn, Open Mike Eagle
yeah,
show.
Baron Vaughn, Open Mike Eagle, just really great people. The Comedy Central execs seem to be very behind it, which is heartening. We got billboards on Sunset and in Times Square,
nice.
So they seem to give a damn about the show. And it is my TV debut, so if all the screen junkies that dig me and some of the ones that don't, just tune in to Comedy Central.
watch it.
Yeah, hate watch it, baby.
Doesn't matter.
But everybody who supported me this whole time, and thank you, Joe, Billy Business, all you guys have been really great to me, and this has been probably an integral part in getting my Q score up. So thank you guys so much, and now I've gotten on TV, so you'll be able to see my TV debut 11 Pacific Standard Time on Comedy Central or BET, which is your flavor.
It is all Dark Knight material.
Oh yeah,
just
dude.
5 minutes of you yelling about.
It's
the
about
Dark Knight.
half from when I did the performance. I don't know how they're gonna edit it or whatever, but when I did the performance, it's about half comic book stuff and half social stuff. So, so yeah, that's me. That's me.
Well,
in a
dude,
nutshell.
you earned it, and you deserve it, and congratulations. We'll be watching Friday with all of you.
The
You better
New
watch.
Negroes Friday. Thank you guys.
We've got our own Kim Taylor Foster chatted with the Russos about Avengers Endgame. There's no spoilers. It's just a good, fun conversation. Check it out. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
So you've both been involved with the MCU for quite a long time now, 4 films.
Yeah.
For you, what are the most important moments within the MCU?
I am
certainly,
Iron Man.
Yeah, certainly half the characters dying was an important moment. From our own movies, I think Captain America: Winter Soldier, the elevator sequence, I think is really a turning point for the MCU up to that point. Captain America makes a discovery about the good guys and the bad guys that sort of flips everything on its head. And then I think that the universe becomes a lot more tonally and morally gray in terms of its thematics.
There's a moment in Civil War where Captain America is learning about Hydra. He gets some information visually that implies that the Winter Soldier may have been involved in the murder of Tony Stark's parents, and that becomes the sort of ignition point for Civil War and the breaking up of the Avengers. And that, of course, set the stage for Infinity War, which is now the Avengers' greatest threat comes to visit them in Thanos, and they're no longer united. They're no longer a team, and they never, in fact, face Thanos together in that film and end up, I think, because of the fact they weren't together, losing.
What would you want to see from the future of the MCU?
Well, I think it's where they're going, which is more diversity. I think everyone's got the right to see themselves on screen, and certainly it'll just keep widening the fan base the more the people are able to identify with the characters that they're saying.
Are there any characters that you'd like to explore or have explored that you haven't been able to?
Ben Grimm, The Thing, was a really was one of my favorites. Fantastic Four would be really fun to play around with. Wolverine, Great Lakes Avengers. We always joke.
There's a lot of talk around a younger faction of superheroes coming through. What of the younger Marvel lot would you like to explore potentially?
Certainly the Young Avengers would be fun. I mean, take Spider-Man as an example, but whenever you put responsibility on a teen or a child, it adds a much more dramatic component to the notion of being a superhero. So I think there's a lot of interesting choices that could be made with younger heroes.
What moment in MCU history would you change if you could? Was there a moment, like with Thor not getting Thanos in the head that you makes you go, if only?
Maybe I'm speaking for others, but maybe not killing Loki would have been exciting for some people.
In agreement with that, Joe?
Yes, yes. You hear about it all day long.